Another good moment for a big breath. So here we are, we inside of Torah are in this big, epic moment. The Exodus, Yitziat Mitzrayim, the leaving of the narrow place and the crossing to the other side. It is a foundational narrative of our people, the foundational narrative of our people. Okay, lots of things falling. It was like dramatic effect, the foundational narrative. It's time to leave. It's time to go. The people have been ready, and the people have been not ready. And it's time now. Moses and Aaron have been asking, and Pharaoh's been saying yes, and then no, and then yes, and then no, and then yes, and then no. And there's a yes now, so it's time to go quickly. To make the change, to make the leap into what can be. And it's time right now. This is courage. This is big leap, Exodus courage. Right here, right now, it is time. So we go to the edge of the water. And some of us are starting to say that we need to go back. We need to go back. This is too scary. The horrible known is better than the scary unknown. Let's go back. I imagine that some did actually turn and start walking back. This is crazy. This is not going to work. Let's go back. This is painful and hard. And here at the edge of the water, the Midrash tells us first that Nachshon walks in. As people are murmuring and leaving, Nachshon walks in. The Midrash also tells us that Nachshon is not alone, but that other members of Nachshon's tribe go in too. His beloveds, his comrades, his compadres, they go into the water together. And the people are watching. And they walk into their ankles and nothing happens. And they walk into their knees and nothing happens. And they walk into their hips and it's hard to move and nothing happens. And so the people who had turned around, now they're like walking faster and they're getting other people to come with them. But some people are riveted at this group of people, this small group that's walking in the water. And it's harder to move and it's in their hips and it's up to their breasts and it's up to their throats and it covers, the water covers their noses and it goes up to the level of their ears. And the people are watching saying, see, we should not have done this. This is impossible. It's too hard. And just at that moment, as the water was coming in their nostrils, in their mouth, out their ears, the walls of water open. And there's a wall of water on one side and a wall of water on the other side. And there is the land. And I think still some might have been just watching. And probably, as organizers need to do, come on. And so then the people go and they go quickly. And we cross over to the other side and we hear that the women open their bags and they take out their timbrels. That means they packed their timbrels. That means in a rush, in a hurry, pack your things. Yes, you take your timbrels, your musical instruments, your paint, your clay, the things that you need. So they take out the musical instruments. They also knew there was going to be a time to use them. To me, that's one of the most beautiful parts of the unwritten story. The moment that the women grabbed their timbrels and put them in the bag, knowing there'd be a time to use them. And they get to the other side and they sing and they dance and they sing, Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you? God, this is amazing. And when we hear about courage and in our culture, this is the kind of courage that we see. Go for it. Big leap. All at once, courage. And it's incredible. And it's unique in our lives, this kind of courage. But friends, moments after they danced and sang, then they turned to look at what was in front of them. And that was the wilderness, the midbar. Immediately after the big leap comes the wilderness. And there it was. Let's go back. I mean, I know we just crossed and it was amazing and there were walls of water. But let's go back. Let's go back to the horrible known instead of this big open wilderness of the unknown. I mean, what are we going to eat and what's going to happen? And courage again. Courage again to step into the wilderness. There is Exodus courage, friends, and there is wilderness courage. From the leap to the living. And most of our lives are in the wilderness courage. From the leap to the living, the daily, repeated courage. The courage that maybe doesn't get the big headlines and the movie crescendos. But that is where most of our courage is. It's in the wilderness. And the majority of the Torah is in the wilderness, and the majority of our lives are in the wilderness. Daily unfolding courage, personally and collectively. Daily unfolding courage to stay with and in our lives. Stay with and in our relationships, change our relationships, and then live it. It guides us in our moving and our growing daily, everyday courage. Wilderness courage, courage of the midbar. I interrupt the negative voice about my body. I don't take the drink. I tell the doctor what I'm willing and not willing to do for treatment. I walk. I tell you that the joke is offensive. I engage in difficult conversations with people I know well. I engage in difficult conversations with people I don't know at all. I clarify a boundary I need with you. I say yes. I say no. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. Because that is the courage of the wilderness. It is every day. Big leap Exodus courage is glorious, but short-lived. Big leap courage, when it's undertaken, brings us each time back into the daily wilderness courage. And the same practice of courage that is alive in a big leap moment is the same practice of Ometz Lev in the wilderness of courage. And there are 4 parts, 4 universes, 4 worlds inside of courage. Courage, this foundational midah of this nefesh community. 1, we dance with fear and uncertainty. We then clarify the values. Why are we doing this? What's happening? We build support, and then we take courageous action. Sometimes in a linear order, but usually mixed up, as all things are. We dance with fear and uncertainty. We clarify where we're headed, we build support, and we take courageous action. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. And then we do it again. They require the same thing. Fear. Hello, fear. Intimate relationship with fear. Clarifying the why, the values, the deeper truths. What is this yes? What is this no? And then we build support, and then we move. We cannot speak about courage unless we talk about fear. It's always there in courage, fear. Big leap courage, wilderness courage, the fear is always there. And here in this Parsha tonight, I want to talk about a teaching on fear and then a teaching on support. There are universes, as I said, inside this midah. And you can imagine that this week it was very hard for me to whittle it down to the couple of things for tonight on courage. So here in this Parsha, if we stay close to this Parsha, there are two places around courage I wanted to bring out in us. One is that there are different kinds of fear. Not all fear is the same. There's yira, a sacred fear, and there's pachad, a closing, anxiety, fear, dread. It's the projected or imagined fear of what we think is going to come. I think that's what we think about when we hear the English word fear, but there's more than one kind possible. There is yira, a sacred fear that opens us up to possibilities. Pachad is that fight, flight, freeze, freak out. How many other F's can we add right there? And yira is the opening possibility of fear. So when the people get to the edge of the water, Moses says, Al tira'u, have no fear, stand by and witness the deliverance which Adonai will work for you today. Al tira'u, have no fear. Rabbi Alan Liu of blessed memory shares that one of the most common opening words from God in Torah, addressing the people, is Al tira'i, don't be afraid. And when this is said, it's not always clear why God's saying that right in that moment. Tira'i is from that same root as norah, awe, yira, awe, the sacred fear, the fear of awe. And Rabbi Liu says that it's God acknowledging that simply the nearness of the divine in those moments might bring an intensity, an awe fear, an energy, and a sense of spaciousness that we're not accustomed to. That mix of opening fear with awe. That is yira, fear. And when we are feeling that, that's a place to move into. Says a new strength announces itself with this kind of fear that brings spaciousness. A new energy bristles through our bodies, and we call this bristling of energy fear, norah, or yira. It's trying to push us open. So we need to know when the fear is coming. What kind of fear is it? Is this a fear that's opening me towards more possibilities? Or is it a fear that's closing me down? Fear is always going to be there with courage. So part of wondering and imagining the shape and the weight and the color And the size of the fear that's here with you is about getting intimate and close to it so that I can know you, so I can know things about you, fear. Are you from a place of opening me up and awe, or is it a place of shutting me down? And even in that pachad, fear, we need to be intimate with it so that we can dance with it. Know when to pick it up and know when to put it down. I have the resources, the strength. I can pick you up right now. Let's have a conversation. Or you know what? I can't right now. I'm going to put you there and I'm going to wait 5 minutes. And I'm going to wait another 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you to wait until my beloved gets here and I'm not alone with you. And then I can say, I am scared. A relationship with fear, an intentional relationship with fear. That's part of what courage asks of us. Oh, and actually, we also have no choice. So the intimacy helps to move. What does it want us to hear? What can we listen to? Full body listening. That's the opening practice of Ometz Lev. It's the relationship, intentional relationship with fear. That entry into the dance with fear is actually courage itself. The willingness to do that with fear is courage itself. And maybe that's where we are right now. I need to stay. I'm just going to be with like, okay, fear, new idea. What would you like me to know? Then we clarify the why. That helps us to know if it's pachad or yira, right? Because if the why is clear and it's opening, that's yira. And then we build support, friends. We build support. And here is what our Parsha brings for us today and this whole Shabbat. It's Shabbat Shira. There are so many ways to build support, and one of them is song. One of them is song. We can sing. In social justice movements, for those who've been a part or have heard stories, you gather first, before the protest, before the civil disobedience, to sing together. To sing together. We draw up the Psalms. We shall not be moved. No nos moverán. And we sing. Singing is support in itself. Singing can also be the rhythm of our bodies, of stomping, of clapping, of moving. Does the rabbi want me to sing, like in the car or just before I have that really hard conversation? Yes, I do. If you need to go in the bathroom and close the door and like sing, I think the other people will appreciate it. There are many ways to build support. And one of them is song, is movement. Do I want you to sing and say to the doctor, I need a second, I need to sing? Yes, I do. I saw the film Women Talking this week. I audibly shouted out in the middle of the movie, Exodus! This week! I'm seeing this movie this week. Hey, Bashalach, this Parsha. Head shaking if some of people have seen it. It's an incredible film, and it is this very tale. It's a community of Mennonite women who have endured incredible violent trauma, and it's based on a true story, though it is not the exact story. And I'm not giving anything away, I promise. And they have a short time before the men return to decide if they're going to stay or go. Let me just say again that there is an incredible amount of trauma in this film. So please know that I suggest not seeing it if that would be not good for you. And if you can see it, you'll see inside, there's so much talking in the film. And then there's singing. And that happens in these repeated rhythms. Talking, 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 singing. I went to a memorial for those murdered in the dance studio, murdered while dancing in Monterey Park. And there was weeping and crying in front of the dance studio. And then there was talking of people from the community talking. And then there was singing. The collective voice, the holding each other in our own wilderness, and the holding all of us in this collective wilderness. This is such an overwhelming time, friends, but the amount of courage that is happening here and all over the world is unbelievable. And courage is shared. We give courage, we take courage. So here, we've crossed to the other side of the sea. And then we look and we see the wilderness stretched out before us. And the dancing and the singing has stopped. And the murmuring has begun again. And I think right in that moment, a new song was sung. A new group began singing a different song, a song that moved them into the wilderness. They moved with the fear. They knew why they had to go. They took hands with each other and they moved into the wilderness. It was a slower song, a deepening song. They were singing to move with their fear, to remember why they were here, and to put one foot in front of the other. May you move with your fear. May you clarify where you are headed. May you build support, take courageous action, and then do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Shabbat Shalom.